So I guess we're talking about spirituality here, and I've been involved in spiritual study and practice and research, and especially with Eastern spirituality, since I was about 15 years old. And I'd got the internet, and I basically used to Google everything, well, Alta Vista, because Google wasn't around then, and basically I'd just researched Shinto and Buddhism and Taoism and everything, philosophy in general, and so I got quite into that. But about 4 weeks ago, I came across a book. Well, actually, I was given a book, in an actual book, and also an audio CD of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and it totally blew my mind. I mean, suddenly everything that I had thought I understood, now I understood. It made sense of everything. All the meditation practices I'd been doing, and the Buddhism which I followed, it all suddenly made sense just at that moment while I was reading the book, and it totally blew my mind. And since then I've been having a series of realizations, you know, like kind of not enlightenment or anything like that, but just, if anything, just an intellectual understanding of very simple truths, or it's actually just one truth. And it's really made me, it's made me change. I'm changing very rapidly as a character, as a person, and as a result, what happens is, when I try to share this with people, my family and friends, rather than listen to what I'm trying to tell them about what I've discovered for myself, they're just too busy really just looking at me and thinking, why is this guy changed all of a sudden, you know? And it's kind of a problem, but it's you know, it is what it is. But the issue is, I really feel compelled to share this stuff with people, and if I can't do it with the people who are already in my life, then I figured, well, YouTube, you know, the whole world, why not? And so I got this camera. Well, actually my girlfriend bought me this camera just so I could film these things for YouTube, and I've never done this before. I've never stood in front of a camera like I'm doing now and talking to it in a room by myself, and it's all really strange, but like I said, I just feel really compelled to just share this with people. And it's not new knowledge, it's nothing new, it's just that I've finally understood it for myself, and maybe if one book can do it for me and like wake me up, then maybe this little clip or these series of clips will do it for other people, you know, or maybe it will just be entertaining or whatever. And so here we are. And one realization I had quite recently was, I was watching MTV or some music channel, and they were talking about, it was like a talk show, and they were talking about these two artists. One was a hip-hop artist, and one was some like acoustic guy, you know, a simple kind of guy, and I don't even know their names, to be honest with you. But the point is, as I was listening to them talk about these people, suddenly I had this, not vision, but like an insight of the fact that these two human beings that they were talking about were in fact beings, and that their human traits, their past, their history, their story, their characters and their personalities, was all like surface level phenomena, really like almost like an illusion, like it didn't mean anything. And I've got my whiteboard here to attempt to kind of recreate what it was I saw. And although it wasn't like a visual, like I said, wasn't a hallucination or something. It was just a kind of, I don't know, but this is what it was basically. That there's this being here. This is how I saw it, just like a nothingness. It wasn't necessarily blue, but it wasn't in a human shape. But this is one guy they're talking about, and here's the other guy, and I can just see them as beings, and as you can see, they're kind of identical, and yet they were paying lots of attention to their stories. Like they were saying, oh, this guy, you know, he's a really and this is the way I saw it, like just an outward stuff, and so they were saying, oh, this guy, you know, he's a nice guy, and he's a very simple guy, and he's a Christian, and he's an acoustic artist, and he's a, you know, white guy, and whatever, you know. It's just they were talking about this kind of the stuff about his life, which were just things, you know, like didn't really mean anything. And then they were saying, well, this guy, you know, he's a tough guy, he's from the hood, and he's been to prison, and he used to sell drugs, and, you know, he's been shot at, and, you know, he wears all this funky jewelry, and he makes rap music and hip-hop and stuff, and, you know, he's a real tough guy, and da-da-da, and they were talking more about him and piling on all this stuff, as if to say that somehow this guy is cooler. It looks like an afro now. It's not meant to look like a person, but they were saying that this guy was somehow cooler than this guy because he had more of this stuff, the external story, you know, like this is where I'm from, this is where I'm going, this is who I am. But that's the thing. That's not who we are. This is just stuff. Your past, your future, your personality, and especially your personality, really, because that really is just, that can change from moment to moment. And it's what people have come to identify with. But actually, you know, you take away all this stuff and they're the same, you know. So, and then I had this kind of, I pondered over it a little bit, and what I realized was the depth of this phrase, human being. Please excuse my handwriting. And I realized that it's not so much human being, you know, I'm a human being, you're a human being, da-da-da. We are more like human beings, you know? That is to say that all this stuff, this kind of, these things that we think are who we are and what makes us who we are, it's just our human traits. When really, if we remove all this surface level stuff, and it does get removed at some point, you know, when we die, all that stuff goes. You know, the person who that image of me that I look in the mirror and I identify with will be gone. But what will never go is my essence, my being, because I am a human. Yes, I could have been a cat, could have been a dog in this lifetime, could have been anything, but I'm a human in this one. But aside from all that, I'm a being, just like you, just like the hip-hop guy, just like the Christian guitar playing guy. And ultimately, it's all the same, you know. It doesn't matter. This stuff is just well, this is a mess now. But the point is, all that, these things, they're just they're not important, and it's not who we are. And so this is the basis of everything that I'm going to be talking about in these series of clips. And so yeah, that's what I saw, and then everything else came after that.